Hi, I'm still in Norway, and this week's film is about photographing Capercaillie. Now, if you want to photograph Capercaillie, Scandinavia is the place to come for it. Up in Scotland, they're a very protected species and getting close to extinct as well, I think. It's illegal to even photograph them on the lek or the display ground, let alone the nest, as it is with some British species. But up here in Scandinavia, they're very common. We're close to the Norwegian-Sweden border, and there's two ways to photograph them: the easy way and the hard way. I'm going to start off by showing you the easy way.
There's a mixture of tarmac and gravel roads in this part of the world, and what they have in common is there is very little traffic. You've really got the roads to yourself, especially in the evenings and early mornings, which is when the Capercaillie are close to the roads, and they are very numerous up here. You just drive along and every few minutes you're quite likely to come across a Capercaillie. Here's a female, and they are photographable from the car window. You're also just as likely to come across black grouse as well. They'll also be displaying very close to the roads in places. And the Capercaillie is not just out in the open roads, but amongst the buildings, the villages on the side of the roads. In this video clip you can see there's a lot of rain coming down and the windscreen wipers are going. But the grouse and the Capercaillies are displaying. And here we have a male in full display just by the side of the road.
So that was the easy way. Now let's look at the hard way. You can go to a lek, a display ground for Capercaillie, and you've got to put a hide up and you've got to put long hours into it. We're talking 12, 13 hours, possibly 14 hours. It depends on when they stop displaying. And you can see the conditions are not ideal. We're not talking about nice wooden hides, but just canvas type tents or fabric tents. And it's hard work. It's cold. I've got my snug pack trousers on. The great advantage of snug pack gear, it's very lightweight, very compact, squeezes up to almost nothing in your suitcase, and that's important when you're flying to places. I've had these trousers now for at least 2 decades. They've got a few rips in them because it's a light fabric. If you lived somewhere like this, you'd have a hard wearing pair, but these, you've got to keep it light. So that's still lasting. I do have a snug pack jacket, but I'm not wearing that, but it's a similar thing to this. So you've got thermal underwear underneath as well, and then you're inside a sleeping bag. But it's a long wait for Capercaillie.
It's also a long walk in, and mostly uphill, and you've got to avoid sweating. The worst thing you can do is get a sweat on, because when you stop, you'll freeze.
What we need is a snowmobile. And this is the hard bit. This is where you have to go uphill. You've left the track behind you. So this is a Capercaillie lek or display ground. I'm hoping they're going to be displaying on that snow right in front of us. It's a question of which angle do you get the best view. And this is where I'm going to spend the night. So it's just coming up to 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm expecting to be here till 7, 8 or even 9 o'clock. Depends how long the Capercaillies stay.
You may see the bird in the evening, but usually not. Once it gets dark, you start to hear them as they land in the trees above you, which is where they roost and spend the night, and you just have to wait for the first sign of daylight. And then the first thing that happens is you can hear the birds. But I could hear two birds interacting out of the back of the hide, and eventually I picked up the 40 to 150 mm OM lens f2.8 and I poked that out of the rear hole. Now it is almost dark at this point. I can hardly see with my eyes, but when I look through the lens I can just about make out the birds. There's two males and they're having a bit of a scrap, but I want the bird on the right to come forward onto the snow and ideally fight in front of me. But it didn't happen. You can see the bird on the right. I think that is the one that's trying to take over the territory from the dominant bird on the left. But we didn't get a fight, and eventually I could see the bird moving off further and further into the forest. Initially I didn't try to take stills pictures. Video works much better in dull light conditions. Well, not so much dull as dark. It's amazing how low the light levels can be and video can still capture the image. Females are far more likely to appear very early in the morning before the light builds up, and there were 4 individual females I could see at one time. Now, I'm no expert on Capercaillie, and there can't be that many people that have watched Capercaillie's mating, but to me, that female is saying, mate with me. She's gone down low, she's holding her head down low, she's flapping those wings a little bit, she's inviting copulation here, but it didn't happen. Sometimes when the male approached her, she'd change her mind and move off, but other times the male just didn't seem interested. Most of the females have disappeared before the light reaches a level you can start to take stills pictures, and in fact I never got above 200th of a second, and that was at 1600 ISO. The bird does a little flutter jump here, just like black grouse do. All of the stills pictures are taken with the OM-1 Mk2 and the 150 to 400mm lens, except for that clip where the two birds were fighting each other. 1600 was my default ISO, and I never got fast shutter speeds, but the bird's not moving that much, you don't need a fast shutter speed.
Now, I have done some uncomfortable sessions in hides where it's been too hot, too cold, too cramped, or just too long, but that was one of the worst I've experienced. That was a terrible session. I have nothing good to say about this hide. It seems to me it's a bit of a halfway house between a lie-down hide and a normal hide, and it doesn't do either of them well.
I started off by sitting on a normal camping stool, but my head was just going through the roof of the hide. There isn't enough height, so I was having to bend over double, so I swapped that for this little stool. It's only a few inches above the ground, but at least it meant I wasn't sitting on the ground. But it's very uncomfortable. You can't spend 12 hours sitting in that position. Now, to be fair, the nursing sleeve panel can be swapped for a scrimming panel, I believe, but I was stuck with the nursing sleeve panel and it's useless. It's far too small, it's stiff, there's no flexibility. A nursing sleeve should be loose and flexible. This is so stiff that I can't pan the lens to the left and right and follow things smoothly. And worst of all, once your lens is in position, there's no peepholes. You can't look out the hide and see what's happening. And if you owned a 500mm f4 Canon lens, you'd never get through that hole in the first place. It's far too tight. On the outer fly sheet there's a couple of ties, but look where they are. They hang down right in front of your lens. It's a crazy design.
Now, perhaps I'm a bit grumpy this morning. I've just done 13 hours in a hide at minus something degrees. It was very, very cramped. I'm hungry. I want to go back and get some breakfast and get some sleep. But the way I feel about that hide at the moment is whoever designed it has never sat in a bird hide in their life.
I did 3 nights at this Capercaillie lake, and fortunately the next 2 nights I was able to use a Buteo hide. Now, these are the hides I use at home. This is what a nursing sleeve should look like, large and flexible so you can pan your lens with it. It's a much better designed hide, and I was a lot more comfortable on those next 2 nights. And look, peepholes. You've got to have viewing holes to be able to see what's going on around the lens.
One more job to do. Spent 13 hours in a hide, then you've got a plastic bottle to empty.
In the description under the video you'll find a link to this website where you can book this trip, normally for black grouse and Capercaillie. Thanks for watching.